So who here has ever been to and or loves Chipotle? Chipotle? Yeah, okay, we've got a few hands. Okay, second question. If you go to Chipotle, who's the burrito people, right? Who likes the burritos? Okay, a few. Now, who's the bowl people? You know, who likes getting a bowl? Okay, overwhelmingly bowl. Good answer. It's good. Who at quesadilla? I know that's a newer one, kind of a smaller portion size, if you like. Well, I did something this last week that I never thought I would do. I got a salad bowl. So, I know if you knew me from my younger years, this wouldn't be normally me. I want to get the bowl with all the things, double meat, guac, get the whole thing, right? Let's pile it on. But considering it was lunch, and another friend had ordered a salad, I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll do that this time. And all things considered, it was great, and it actually filled me when I didn't necessarily think it was going to fill me as much as I thought. It didn't weigh me down for the rest of the day, so it's a good thing. We love food, right? We love food in all kinds of ways. It tastes good, and it solves the question of our hunger. Part of what it means to be human means to be a creature that has hungers and needs to be fed. And we acknowledge that we have stomach hungers as human beings, but that we also have heart hungers. We hunger for things like purpose and fulfillment. We hunger to be seen. We hunger to be loved. And today God promises to fill and fulfill these deepest hungers of our hearts. And that we shouldn't give in to the temptation that we will go away today hungry, and that we will go away unfed. The gospel is this famous story of Jesus feeding the 5,000, this from John's gospel. And there's a few points of context at the beginning of the gospel that explains that, anticipates a feeding is going to happen. So first, there's this detail that they have a large crowd following them. That people have seen Jesus teaching and healing and doing miracles. And so their appetite is stirred. And so they're following him. The second detail is that they went up a mountain. So mountains were important in the scriptures. There were places of encounter with God. And places where God would provide for his people. Thinking of Moses and the Ten Commandments, that the people were fed with God's wisdom and presence from the mountain. And then the last detail is that it was near the feast of Passover. So Passover was the greatest ritual, a celebration, meal that the Jewish people celebrated throughout the entire year. But one line in the gospel kind of stuck with me, and Jesus is looking out and he's seeing all of these people who have followed him. And he asks Philip, where can we buy enough food for them? And now I think Jesus is being a little bit of a smart aleck here, because he knows that there's nothing they're going to find is going to feed them. But he asks anyway. There's this detail. He said this to test him, because he already knew what he was going to do, right? And Philip's answer kind of goes along the lines of worldly things. So money. Oh yeah, it would take 200 days' wage just to give everyone just a little bit. How often we turn to the world to solve our problems and feed the hungers of our hearts. Whether it's our technology and phones and entertainment, whether it's our pursuit of wealth and status, whether it is food or drink, or whether it's cultural leaders and political parties. While all these things are goods, they're not the ultimate solution. Jesus knew that nothing they were going to find was going to fundamentally fix their hungers and their problems. He asked Philip to test him, to give him a chance to profess faith in Jesus, which was not completely unreasonable. They had already been following Jesus around. They had seen him do amazing things. The wedding of Cana in John's Gospel is the first miracle where he turned water into wine and provided for those who are at the wedding. have we seen God work in a real way, in our lives? And if not our lives, someone else's life. And whether we have or we haven't, I can tell you that God has been at work in many ways. In the psalm, we sang, "The hand of the Lord feeds us. He answers all our needs." This is our faith. And whether we know it or not, even just our presence here today proclaims that faith. What have some of our needs, what have some of our hungers been, as of late? Hunger isn't a bad thing, because hunger helps us to move towards food, towards something that's going to satisfy our hunger. And the truth is that God has brought all of us here today. He's already fed us with his word, and he will feed us with his presence in the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus in the Eucharist, the bread from heaven. And this is an amazing and a miraculous gift. And whether we know it or not, too, we've come with all kinds of things going on in our lives and in our hearts. The question is, have we come with an awareness that God wants to feed those deep hungers and trust that he will do so? Because I think the great temptation for us can be thinking that we will in fact go away hungry. That, like Philip, who looked out over this huge crowd, we can think, well, there's not really going to be enough. And that's what the world wants to tell us. It's good that you go do your weekly Jesus thing, but at the end of the day, you're still going to be hungry. And then you can come back to the world and go to whatever to feed you. But brothers and sisters, we believe in a God of promise, that what God says happens, and what God speaks is truth. And the truth is that we will not leave hungry. I don't think any of us would go into Chipotle, or our favorite restaurant of choice, and expect to leave hungry. We know food is good, and they provide good portion sizes. Well, if we don't doubt Chipotle, then we shouldn't doubt God. And that doesn't mean, after we receive the Eucharist, that everything's going to go away, all the problems that we're dealing with, and all of our immediate hungers are going to go away. The Eucharist it's not magic. But knowing that God is present with us in all the things that we're dealing with and all the hungers that we have can change everything. Because the God that fed the seemingly endless crowd will fulfill the seemingly endless desires of our hearts. So today, let us not be afraid to acknowledge that we are hungry, because those who are hungry seek. And may we trust that if we open our hearts, even just a little bit, God will fill and fulfill them. Because Jesus only needed 5 barley loaves and 2 fish to feed 5,000. Let us have faith and trust that even our presence here today, God can use to fill the deepest hungers of our hearts.